Have you ever been in the catch-22 of indecision? You have a strong desire for either outcome, but you can't take them both. You have to choose. And overcoming this paradox of choice is making you crazy. In this video, we'll be talking about how to conquer indecision and what to do when you're stuck between two or more options that are making you feel emotionally abused and tormented. I'll be giving you a perfect formula next, so stay tuned.
Well, hi there and welcome. My name is Remy, like Do-Re-Mi. I'm a best-selling author and creator of the Get Unstuck Revolution. I help extraordinary women with big-ass dreams just like you who want to get unstuck from a life that doesn't work and get to where you know you need to be, into a life that's filled with passions and purpose. Now let's get started with today's episode.
Okay, let me jump off the screen here and switch over here to my laptop. Today, we're talking about what to do when we need to conquer indecision and the conflict and emotional torture that it's creating. As business owners, or even in our quote-unquote real jobs, in our relationships at home or at work, or even when we're trying to move to a new financial level, we can sometimes find ourselves wrangling with an invisible barrier, and somehow we can't seem to break the current cycle that just seems to be stuck. In this episode, we'll be talking about the donkey theory and why the donkey dies when he can't make a rational choice between food and water. We'll also be talking about how we unknowingly create opposing objectives that confuse us and how to find the right objective. And we'll be talking about how to overcome a paradox in 5 simple steps. Yes, we're talking about how to find your hidden power when you want to transform challenges into successes. I like to call this the audacity of alchemy. Because when you're feeling stuck, it's never the situation that has you stuck. It's your energy that's become stuck by the trigger of negative emotions that can come from past situations or events. In other words, it isn't the pain of the situation. It's the pain of not being connected in the natural energy of who you really are, of being connected to that magical part of you that's a creative, vibrational being who can use positive energies to create what you want and bring it into physical manifestation. Part of this process is to allow your manifestations to materialize and not get stuck in the negative vibrations that block them. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because when you can vaporize unwanted negative energies and reduce the conflicts that steal your positive energy flow, the possibilities for crystallizing the success you crave are endless. This series will help you do just that, because if you're like me, then you're someone who has the audacity, the willingness to take bold risks and transform challenges into successes. So let's talk about this idea of transformation and the audacity of alchemy. I don't know if you've ever heard of the donkey theory. Some people know it as Buridan's ass, named after Jean Buridan, who is a French philosopher, but I think Aristotle was actually the first to bring about this concept. And the concept is a concept of free will, which seems like a good thing unless you're caught in duality thinking. Now, duality thinking, you may remember, is where part of me wants this and part of me wants that. It also may be where we have strong negative emotions, but also strong positive emotions. It might also be where we're in a conundrum, unable to resolve a situation. Duality thinking. You get the idea. So, the donkey theory. Imagine a donkey that is equally hungry and thirsty. He's placed precisely exactly midway between a stack of hay and a pail of water. We assume he'll always go to whichever's closer, but he actually dies of hunger and thirst because he can't make a rational choice. That's the donkey theory. Now, one philosopher argued that because as humans we have free will, we'll always be able to make a rational choice. Yet another philosopher argued that if two options are judged equal, then free will cannot break the deadlock. All we can do is suspend judgment until the circumstances change and the right course of action becomes clear. And can I just say, as I was researching this, I found it so interesting that a paradox exists even between philosophers dating back as far as 350 BC. Well, this idea of indecision has been with us a long time, hasn't it? Now you know why I created the Get Unstuck Revolution. If you feel like you're stuck in a catch-22, if you're feeling like you're in a conundrum, well, you aren't alone. The question is, how do we overcome the paradox? We feel conflicted, we feel tortured, tormented, because often things are true on both sides, and this is duality, the rightness and wrongness of the situation, the positive and the negative. We can see what's true and correct on both sides, and so we have trouble reconciling it. You've heard me talking about how this is an opportunity to look for contrast, to look for the differences, but let's assume we've already done that. You've also heard me say that what's most important isn't solving a paradox. What's most important is how to grow into who we are, how to expand our abilities toward more love, patience, compassion, creativity, how to use positive energies to effect transformation, how to be centered in our true self, and how to hold true to our vision without defaulting into the illusion of the paradox that's designed to pull us away from who we really are. We are on a creator planet, learning how to create and effect transformation. We aren't solving the paradox directly, we're changing the energy behind it. We're changing who we are as a vibrational being. We're refusing to be seduced into a conflicted vibration. Yeah, wonderful concept in theory, but this idea of changing who we are as a vibrational being, but when we're really, truly stuck in a conundrum, the theory, well, it isn't so easy to put into practice. So how do we overcome the paradox? Well, I don't know about you, but I've had those moments where I've felt like I was stuck inside a pinball machine with all the options just whacking me over the head. Or I had a client tell me one time, just beautifully, she said it was like being stuck inside the Liberty Bell, and her head was gonging from one side of the bell to the other, and she said it didn't feel much like liberty. She didn't feel much like freedom at all. She said that she felt like a human pendulum. So what we're actually dealing with, most often, is a conundrum between two choices. And oftentimes, it's a difference between fight or flee. And this may be the situation you're in. Do I see it through, or do I give up? If we see it through, we know we'll have resentment. If we give up and we walk away, we may feel guilty, that sort of thing. And then our creative brain says, wait a minute, if we see it through, maybe we'll feel a sense of achievement. Or it says, if we give up and walk away, maybe we'll feel a sense of relief. And this flipping back and forth is exactly what keeps us in a paradox. Somehow, we have to stop the pendulum from swinging because it can be so tortuous. What we often need is a plan. And then we require of ourselves a commitment. This commitment could be a written contract, but I have another idea, which I'll share in just a minute. The idea is to know our limits of what we can do and to know where it pushes us too far for what we can't do. Think of it like this. We have a bicycle, and we can kick up the kickstand and start moving, right? But if we were asked to ride the bicycle backwards and stand on our head, we'd know that's too far, and that would be something we can't do. But something has to break loose, and so maybe we just start with the kickstand. So we need a plan or a goal, or what I like to call an objective, something beyond just the kickstand. Where are we going? What's our objective? So that would be step one, to identify our objective. But how do we do this? Well, remember my client who said she felt like a human pendulum? Somehow, we have to stop that pendulum from swinging because it can torment us relentlessly. So what's been happening is our pendulum has been swinging between two options. And remember, most often it's fight or flight, whether to see it through or whether to give up. And we'll have emotions on both sides. We look at it, seeing it through, and we feel uncomfortable, doubtful, worried, manipulated. We look at giving up, and maybe we feel guilt, defeated, hesitation, conflicted. See the problem? We have negative emotions on both sides, and so our brain at some point will flip it around and start finding the positive on both sides because we don't feel good when we feel bad. And our pendulum just keeps bonging back and forth with no resolution. Somehow, we have to stop the pendulum from swinging. And the mistake so many people make is they look at their goal, their objective, and they find that they have a goal on each side. They have a goal with each option. The goal on one side is to see it through, and the goal on the other side is to give up. So we have a goal on each option. When you think about it, our true objective, it isn't on either side. It isn't on either side. It won't reconcile because our true objective isn't on either side. Oftentimes, we have unbearable pain within each choice, and that's why the pendulum keeps swinging. And so we get stuck back at step one, trying to figure out what our true objective is as we're trying to reconcile all this. I've got news for you. The way you're analyzing it, it won't reconcile. And you can write this down. The way you're analyzing it, it won't reconcile. Somehow, we have to stop the pendulum from swinging so that we can reconcile this decision. So I want to give you a formula. Now, just try this out for yourself, and you can always throw it out or at least make some adjustments that'll make sense for you, but I want to give you a formula. The idea is to transform our challenge into a positive new success. So let's look at a formula, because if you get nothing else today, I want you to get this concept that we're going to stop the pendulum from making you crazy so that you can reconcile this decision. So consider this possibility. Consider that your objective, your goal in all this, your plan, isn't about the paradox at all. Consider that your objective is to tap into your hidden power, to connect to that magical part of you that's a creative vibrational being who can use positive energies to create what you want and bring it to fruition, to become that creative being who doesn't get stuck in the negative vibrations that block your desires. If we're on the right track here for you, if this sounds like a match, then here's your step one. We're going to knock down the walls of frustration, anger, conflict, confusion, indecision, and so on. We're going to knock down all those walls. And when we knock the walls down, then we're going to sweep away the debris. We're going to sweep away all those negative energies that might be left over. Maybe you might envision that you're knocking down the walls of a house, and then you'll sweep away the debris. Or maybe you'll envision erasing a blackboard, and then you know how that residue that always seems to remain and you can still see what's written there on the blackboard? Maybe you'll envision erasing the blackboard and then clearing all that old residue away with whatever solvent you might need, whatever works for you. We are going to be committed to being rid of old negative energies like frustration and anger and indecision and all that. And that includes sweeping away this current paradox. It includes sweeping away this current paradox because it's really just an illusion anyway that's asking you to step up to who you really are as a creative vibrational being. And if we're going to create some new successes, we need to clear out the old. So this is step one. Now, step two, as you imagine yourself with a clean foundation or maybe a clean canvas, is to identify what you really want to experience. When my life is ideal, then you fill in the blank. You can get out some scratch paper right here and start brainstorming some ideas. When my life is ideal, I'm enjoying an amazingly successful and profitable business. When my life is ideal, I have more love and happiness than I've ever known. When my life is ideal, I have unending prosperity. When my life is ideal, I'm experiencing a happy, healthy, and abundant life. We're going general here, yet we're also being specific. Because if I were to ask you to list out 10 things you'd like to experience, or even 20 things within this one area of your life that's concerning you right now, whether it's business or career or finances, if we were to start mapping out 10 or 20 things, at the end of the day, we could still distill it down to one amazing general statement. That's what we're looking for. When my life is ideal, I am, and then fill in the blank. When my life is ideal, I'm enjoying an amazingly successful and profitable business. When my life is ideal, I have unending prosperity, or whatever it might be. Now, what I like to do is to take this new blueprint or this new design and start brainstorming until it's filled out completely. I've just given you a little bit of a start here just to get the juices flowing. So I like to fill it all the way out and then just imagine it as a giant mat on the floor. Like, have you ever played Twister? You know how the game has that twister mat on the floor? That's how I like to envision my new blueprint, like a mat or a new foundation that I can build on. Okay, so step one was to knock down the current walls of frustration and other negative energy. Step two here is to identify what you really want to experience, and then distill it down to one general yet specific mantra. And then step three. Step three is to create a new framework and structure that's independent of anything in the physical. It's independent of any illusion. We're going to create a new framework and structure, independent of anything we currently see in the physical, independent of our paradox, because remember what I said earlier, that if you get nothing else today, I want you to understand how to stop that pendulum from swinging around so that you can reconcile your situation. So we're going to create a new framework. We're just going to swipe our paradox to one side. We're going to build this new framework and structure. In other words, we're going to build some new walls. So imagine that we're building a new house on this new foundation, and it'll have 20 rooms. Each one of those rooms will reflect those 20 things that we'd like to experience that you're starting to build out your blueprint with. So we've torn down the walls of indecision and vacillation and confusion. We've swept away the negative energies that are found in all that dust and debris. Now we're building new walls on the new foundation and creating a new framework and structure independent of the illusion. And so then we're ready for step 4. We're going to fertilize the new framework with resilience, certainty, grace, appreciation, happiness, and all the positive energies we can muster. We're ignoring the paradox we've been in. We're just going to swipe it to the side because it's an illusion anyway. And we're focusing only on these new things that we'd like to experience. And we're fertilizing these ideas with positive energies. We might do this several times a day, or we might have dedicated meditation time to work on this new framework, because our consciousness today determines the form our tomorrow takes. Our consciousness today determines the form that our tomorrow will take. So step 4 is to fertilize our new framework. We're no longer going to be at the mercy of that pendulum. We're no longer going to be at the mercy of the paradox. We're going to focus 100% on our new framework, our new energies, and nothing else. And then step 5 is to step back and allow this new vision to unfold to our highest benefit and with the most joy. We're going to step back and simply remain curious to see how it unfolds. In other words, we've planted 20 new flowering plants in our garden, if you will. We've fertilized them, and now we're going to allow them to blossom. Now, I might like to add in an extra bonus step right here, and maybe we'll call this step 6. Anytime this paradox floats back into our consciousness, because it may try for a while, we're going to use practice and discipline to redirect our focus back to what we're creating. We'll use practice and discipline to redirect our focus back to our vision and these new ideas of what we want to experience. We want to focus only on these new ideas that we'd like to experience. We're no longer going to focus on the paradox. We're just going to use practice and discipline to refocus on what we want to experience. We'll simply tell monkey mind when it wants to bang around inside the pinball machine, or whenever that pendulum wants to swing us back into that paradox. We're going to simply affirm to ourselves, nope, these are the experiences I'm creating for myself. This new structure and framework is now my vision, not the old paradox, which only serves to derail me anyway. When we find ourselves in a conundrum, when we find ourselves in indecision, we can change our thoughts because, as you've heard me say it before, negative thoughts are what create our suffering. So we can change our thoughts, or we can change our blueprint. With this exercise that we're looking at today, we're doing both. We're changing our thoughts and our blueprint. We're knocking down our walls of frustration, and with clarity, we're redirecting our thoughts toward a new framework and structure of the vision we have for ourselves for a better than expected outcome. We're changing our thoughts and we're changing our framework for a better than expected outcome, and that's how we use our hidden power. So we started out talking about the donkey theory and how a paradox can make us stuck. We talked about with free will, we can always choose, yet at the same time, free will alone can't break the deadlock. While one philosopher said that we sometimes just have to wait for circumstances to change, that seems pretty disempowering to me. Using the formula I've given you today, you have a tool to help you identify the right objective for yourself so that you don't get stuck in the paradox. And the beauty of this plan and why it works so well is that we're not going to allow ourselves to think about the paradox. We're only going to allow ourselves to think about our future and the new experiences we'd like to create. And we're going to be committed to this idea of practice and discipline in creating our future. Well, I hope this helps you as you're using the powers of alchemy to transform challenges into positive new successes. But if you still can't get your head around what's got you stuck, tell me about it. You can leave a question right here, or if you're someone who has the audacity, the willingness to take bold risks to transform challenges into success, you can find out more about our events at Success Circle Workshops unlockyourhiddenpower.com. This is where you can learn more about the audacity of alchemy and how to unlock your hidden power. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, and if you like what you learned today, be sure and give this video a thumbs up. You can also feel free to share this video with anyone you know who's feeling stuck. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in one of our upcoming Success Circles. You can find out more at successcircleworkshops.com.